the bills that we have today, our grandparents did not have these bills. Literally, they just did not have them.
And that's what I said. With development, it's a plus, but there's certainly cons with this as well. But in Trinidad, as I mentioned, we know nothing about maintenance at all. I mean, just imagine that 2 years schools were down. You had the Ministry of Education being allocated a budget twice during the course of a COVID-19 pandemic. And you mean to tell me that still 8 schools had to go major repairs? One, Denise called us last week Monday, I believe, to inform us that her daughter is now on rotation because they cannot facilitate all the students. Right? So you mean to tell me after 2 years and 2 budgets that this nonsense is happening when they had all the time in the world to repair all the schools? So the question not only is where did those finances go? That's one question. I mean, how did they allocate those finances? And 2, they simply can't, listen, you think running an internet connection in a school is just simply running a wire, right? No, I'm not talking about you. Yeah. I'm not talking about you.
Oh, but you mean...
I mean, generally that might be the perception.
No, it's not.
But quite frankly, I think if that was the case, the government would obviously want to use their own body. And let's face it, TSTT is terrible. And if you go for a private entity, such as the one that is red, right, which is very good service, by the way, quite frankly, that's going to cost a lot of money and a lot of maintenance. Well, so it's an option to look at. I don't know if it's viable.
No, but deals can be worked out when you have that level of scale and that level of business, right? And there's also efficiency benefits. That said, for 900 students plus teachers with devices, potentially, you're not going to just have the average internet connection to a house. You do need something a bit more robust than that. Now, I will say this with regards to the Ministry of Education, right? It goes back to my earlier complaints. It's easy to take the simple route. It's easy to say, we're going to educate all of our kids. They're all going to be able to read. They're all going to be educated in science or business. What gets left out? Trades. What gets left out? A lot of practical skills, and not everybody is suited to academics. I mean, even academically speaking, I'm not suited for all academics, right? The job that I have now, to be fair, most of my CXC and A-level subjects did not directly prepare me for this job. Maybe A-level economics, but that's about it, right? Some of the things I did really aren't applicable now. I needed further development in outside of school things. But it's easy for us to focus on these things. And now when we try to do one size fits all, and it's not always fitting, this is what we get.
The education system needs to reform because, as I always said, because you have a certificate with your name on it, it doesn't necessarily translate to education. There's also common sense. There's also skills, which I find a lot of educated people lack common sense.
But right? These skills, that's a form of education too. You need, you know.
Right. I know. I just find a lot of people with these certificates and
yes.
these PhDs, they lack a lot of common sense. I'm being honest with you. But you're right. One size doesn't fit all. The education system needs to reform, and you need to understand that people are different. And some people who may not be able to read and write as others are still inclined skillfully and could do things. We don't actually develop that part of our society. We just forget about them because if you're not in the classroom, you're dunce.
Yes.
That's the stigma in trying to make.
Yes.
If you're not in the classroom, you're a dunce. But you're right. A-level economics and university economics certainly helps now. I'm still trying to figure out how BODMAS is going to help me. I don't know how BODMAS is going to help me.
I have no idea what that is.
You don't know BODMAS?
I have no idea what that is.
I'll explain to you what BODMAS is right after News on the Hour.
Here's your WESN News on the Hour. I am Denise St. Clair. Thanks for joining us. Here are the headlines. Prime Minister attends hearing of U.S. House of Representatives. Lopino community gets water following protest. Influenza cases on the rise. And internationally, dengue cases soar in Pakistan. Now for the details. Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley attended the hearing of the U.S. House of Representatives Committee on Financial Services on the impacts of de-risking on banking in the Caribbean on Wednesday. The hearing was chaired by the chairwoman of the committee, Congresswoman Maxine Waters. Prime Minister of Barbados, Mia Mottley, gave testimony at the hearing regarding the effects the loss of correspondent banking is having on the region. Regional leaders have long been urging action on the issue, which remains at the forefront of the CARICOM agenda. Prime Minister Rowley met with Congresswoman Waters on this matter on behalf of CARICOM in September 2019. Prime Minister Rowley and Prime Minister Mottley are both scheduled to attend a meeting with U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris today. Members of the Lopino community are breathing a sigh of relief as they have received a constant supply of water within the last few days. This comes following protest action by the community council group who claimed supply in the area was poor even though a WASA plant was installed just months ago. The residents now thank Public Utilities Minister and MP for the area, Marvin Gonzalez, for answering their pleas. Ministry of Health's epidemiologist Dr. Avery Hines has confirmed that there have been a higher number of influenza cases being reported in the recent weeks. He gave the update at the Ministry of Health conference on Wednesday.
There was a reduction in mobility followed by a removal of those restrictions and spikes in travel at points in time that don't correspond to the normal travel periods. Anything can re-enter on the basis of movement of human beings.
In international news now, Pakistani health officials are warning of a looming health crisis in the country after devastating recent floods. 33 million people have been affected by the flooding, which has left nearly 1,500 dead since the middle of June. As rescue and evacuation efforts continue in parts of the country, health experts are reporting a surge in dengue, malaria, and severe gastric infections. Many displaced people are living near stagnant water. Dengue fever is already claiming lives and cases are increasing by the day. Well, that was your news for the hour on WESN. I am Denise St. Clair. Thanks for watching.
Chantwell Vibes, a musical tribute to Andre Tanker, Saturday, September 24th, 2022, Central Bank Auditorium. Showtime, 7:30 p.m. Featuring Three Canal, Mavis John, Ataclan, Empress Ajay, Stacy Sobers, and panist Natasha Joseph. Tickets, $300. Available at Crosby's Music Center, St. James. Extra Foods, Arima, Grand Bazaar, and Endeavour. Online at Island E-Tickets. Committee members at 678-2843 or 482-3111. Central Bank box office on the day of the event. Mart's Liquor Palace, Diego Martin Main Road, La Puerta. A musical tribute to Andre Tanker. Saturday, September 24th, 2022. Central Bank Auditorium. Showtime, 7:30 p.m.
Welcome back to Talking Point. And now we start a new segment called Maths with Keaton. And now we end that particular segment because Keaton knows nothing. All right, okay. BODMAS, right? So, somebody tell me how this helps you, now, because listen, brackets, orders, divisions, multiplication, addition, and subtraction. Right, so that's
right. Okay,
right. So you remember BODMAS, right? So BODMAS was an acronym used for that, right? Especially when it came to trigonometry and
so actually, Keaton, in a twist of irony, I actually technically use that. That's one of the few things from math that I use. If I have any complex calculations, I'll do it on an Excel spreadsheet. And it's important to know that so that you know how to write out the formula.
I said trigonometry and I meant arithmetic. You see, this is why we don't have this segment.
Yeah,
hold on, let me hit you another one before we open up the phone lines.
I mean, I don't use calculus at all.
Do you remember sine, cosine, and tangent?
Yeah, I don't remember.
Opposite over hypotenuse.
No. Find x, I can't find x anymore.
Adjacent over hypotenuse.
Nope.
Adjacent over opposite.
Angles of a triangle and all that. Nope. Diameter of a circle.
Actually, it's opposite over adjacent.
Area of a square.
You know how much that particular maths textbook cost?
Hold on. I would like to point out that when I really think about it, I spent maybe like 4 to 5 years of my life learning these things about how to calculate the diameter of a square and the volume of a cube, and don't use that again.
Neither do I. In fact, that textbook costs a lot of money.
Yeah.
But the good news is that all the answers were at the back of the textbook. All. The only problem is when the teachers realized that, they said, well, we're not giving you marks for your correct answer. We're giving you marks to show us how you arrived to that answer.
Which is correct.
You know? Yeah.
Stop trying to game the system and be a smart man, Faris.
Yeah? Well, why not? I learned from those in authority.
Anyway, folks, let's open up the phone lines and hear what you have to say. What did you learn in school that you don't use anymore? I mean, arithmetic, I think, is somewhat useful. 2 plus 2 makes 4, right? But what did you learn in school?
I thought it was 22. Sorry, forgive me. Column Imbit was my math teacher.
The 4 lines are at the bottom of your screen. Please don't try to add them up. That there's no marks for that.
Show us how you...
No.
Actually, that's a good question.
There's no marks for that. And if you have anything else that you want to speak about, tune in, speak about it. One thing I will say, opposition, they made a good point today about Nikon. Where's the report before you reopen that plant? So I will give them a shilling for their efforts, because that's very pertinent, especially when the citizens living in the surrounding areas had to go through the potential of not knowing what was going on, just hearing alarms going. And the investment, I believe that the government put in, have we seen a return on that investment? That's important for the national population when things are tight in the economy. So kudos to the opposition. Keita, anything else on your mind?
Yes. You see the numbers on your screen and you see WESN in brackets, right? How does BODMAS come into play there?
Don't try to solve for WESN.
Oh, okay, yeah. No, but I also wanted to look at another story about the possible protest in Sipara yesterday, which a council and chairman of the Sipara Regional Corporation actually sat in a pothole and held a press conference. It was part of a protest, and it backfired big time. We'll look at that in a bit, but we have a caller on the line with us. Good morning, caller.
Yeah, a very good morning to Keaton and a very good morning to Sean Michael.
Morning.
Good morning.
Yes. What I want to highlight this morning is something that always is a bugbear in our society, and this has to do with court matters and the length of time court matters take to be determined. You know, Keaton and Sean Michael, over the years, we ordinary citizens complain that when a matter reaches the court, whether the magistrate court or the high court, it takes an unduly lengthy time. Now, I'll be very brief. There's a high-profile matter involving the former Attorney General, Anand Ramlogan, a witness tampering case. Mm-hmm. And this matter seems to be being adjourned over and over and again. I'm looking here at the Express newspaper of Wednesday the 13th of July, 2022, this year. That is almost 2 months. The Express is reporting in this matter that is being heard before the Chief Magistrate, Maria Busby Earl Cadell. And this matter with a high-profile person as a former Attorney General keeps to be going on and dragging on, and every time it is a postponement or some matter raised by the defense lawyers, because it is the Pamela Elder, senior counsel, alongside Attorney Russell Warner, appearing on behalf of the former Attorney General Anand Ramlogan. Why is it that these matters have to take so long, because the matter was being heard before as I said, Chief Magistrate Maria Busby Uwilkadel, and it was set to begin on Monday, because I'm quoting from this newspaper, the 13th of July. And then the defense requested that questions be referred to the High Court for determination under Section 14.4 of the Constitution. And the Chief Magistrate, Ms. Earl Cadell, she has postponed the matter to Monday coming here, which is September the 19th. What I want to find out, are we going, members of the public, are we going to wait for Monday the 17th, Monday the 19th of September, which is just 3 days away?
There's enough public servants who are inefficient and lazy that to try to push change upon them, it's very difficult. Not all, depending on how many are willing to do the work, you might be able to get it through, but it tends to be an uphill battle for those few who are willing to try to make things better or to get the work done. They're usually swamped just getting the day-to-day work done. But the main thing is, as I said, who benefits?
I think
the politicians aren't going to do it, because when it's their turn to face the fire, they don't want to face the fire.
Well, half the time they don't face the fire. And I'll be honest with you, I think it goes beyond that. A couple of things. One, our court system is totally inefficient, because if you apply for something online, it's not in the court. I know sometimes they can't find the court transcripts. There was one instance in which a member of the defense became a member of the prosecution. That messed up the entire case. There are probably multiple cases like that as well. There is an instance in which the court records can never be found. And there are also times when witnesses or the defendant is not present, and so on and so forth. Or you're right, so the system is designed that way, and it's not being fixed because nobody wants it to be fixed, right? Exactly, because if you fix the court system in Trinidad and Tobago, and you start looking at white-collar crime cases, right, which to a certain extent is what you can look at also as well, taking place with the former Attorney General, but there are also instances, past and present. You start cleaning up that mess. You start putting everybody in jail. You're going to see a huge difference. But also, understand this. Let us not be so ignorant and ignore the fact that lawyers in Trinidad and Tobago also know how to delay the system, also know how to delay a court hearing. Bear that in mind as well. That's also a key part of our issue. And they get away with it.
And of course, what happens, this case with the former Attorney General, the public narrative, is he innocent, is he guilty? At this point, a good chunk of the public probably doesn't really know or have an opinion, and it's not going to be a major deal because it's been delayed so long.
Boy, as I said, lawyers in Trinidad and Tobago take part of the blame in this system. Huh? We have a caller with us from Chagonas. Good morning, caller.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
I don't know if you see what's really going on with Tobago, but what we see is a question I've raised with you before. What is meant by Tobago autonomy? And what it means, as we can quite clearly see, is to waste money, because the bulk of it comes from Trinidad. They produce practically nothing, and that is why they don't want oversight by the cabinet or the regulatory bodies. And the stupidest thing we could do is give Tobago greater autonomy than they have. If with little they have, they could do this nonsense. You could imagine if they get any more.
Well,
any questions?
What situation are you speaking about specifically?
The situation with, we talking about whole week with Watson Duke.
With the 400,000?
Both of them is breaking the law upside down.
But why do you think that autonomy is a bad idea for Tobago? Because
that is what they mean by autonomy. No, they have made it clear they don't want oversight by the cabinet.
Because I understand, but you, Professor, you're a very smart individual, so you do understand the difference between independence and autonomy, right?
Autonomy all through the world means they give you the authority to raise money and spend it. They want to collect money from Trinidad and do what they want with it, and do not account for where the money comes from. That is not autonomy.
Well, I'm not sure if I'm willing to judge the whole concept of autonomy based on this one case, particularly since, Professor...
No, I'm not saying based on this one case.
Right.
We had where they sit down there, and they give URP workers in Tobago more pay than in Trinidad here. During the election, you talk about giving this away and giving that away. It's not one, it's everything they do is like that.
Well, I mean, so right now, right, the PDP seems to be in having a political battle, right, with one side being very public and the other side being only semi-public with what they're saying.
So I think is both of them breaking the law.
Well, I mean, I will agree with you in that I want to find out the details about that 400,000. I need that.
But what we have in front of us here clearly indicate no respect for law and order.
Yeah, but hold on.
He is right in a sense, huh?
Because I just want to understand why you say that both of them are wrong, and you're saying that there's no respect for law and order. Are you speaking with the sponsorship of $400,000 for this particular folk dance company, or what precisely? What are you speaking about?
Yes, that is the latest one, yes.
So
because to pay out public funds, I explained that to you yesterday or the day before. There is a paper trail in the public service. And we hear nothing about that.
Yes.
Well, I agree with you.
Yes.
So right now, Professor, I am not in a position to say that there's criminal wrongdoing.
You keep agreeing with me.
No. But thanks, Professor. Thanks for your call. That's where we'll end it. Thank you.
I'll just say, I don't know exactly who authorized the 400,000. And that could be Farley. Either he did it or he's not airing all the dirty laundry of somebody else. So I need to know exactly.
Like I said, we can't say that there's any criminal wrongdoing. What we do want, and we agree with you, is that an investigation should take place to see whether or not there was any criminal wrongdoing, because a paper trail should exist. And also at the same time, an investigation needs to be done in the allegations that Kezal Jackson brought forward.
He is right in the sense that the implications on autonomy, it's not a good look. I'm not saying it's directly related.
I'm sorry, who's supposed to be in charge of the autonomy push?
Well, exactly.
We have another caller now with us. Good morning, caller. Hello, good morning.
Gentlemen, good morning.
Good morning.
You know, it's so ironic that the professor spoke about that issue. That is because that was on my mind for a lot of yesterday. Let me say this. We keep saying 400,000. It is closer to $500,000, eh? If I remember correctly, it's either the chief secretary said 468 or 486, somewhere around there.
Okay.
Now, it's $6,000 to go to New York, round trip. And if you pay for 31 people, there is $186,000. There's almost $300,000 that remain from that money. Whatever happens that. Up to now, there's a discrepancy where nobody knows about the money because the Roxborough Cocoa Promise didn't get a cent. On the back of that, based on I'm tying it back to what the professor said there, when the PNM administration in Tobago left office after the election, after that 14-1 licking, there was, and you all can verify this, the Tobago House of Assembly had unspent balances of over $1 billion. That is why we're seeing they're having a field day with this money. That is why those things are happening. Because there is money there. And because this is a new administration that never had governance, have never had to govern before, they are doing what they want with the money. And that is...
If I may just say, I'm not saying that he should pick a side. I'm saying as party...
No, I am saying that he picked a side.
Right, no.
You are saying that he should be neutral.
I'm not saying that he should remain neutral. Everybody in a political party has their affiliations. The point I was making, and maybe I wasn't too clear, so I will take responsibility or fault for that, is that as chairman of the party, he should be working to try and resolve these issues rather than the continued public display between both of these individuals. That is my opinion.
You know what happened there? You sound as if you're talking naive.
Well,
sorry to say that to me.
No.
You're talking naive.
Maybe I am.
Because in politics, look at the history of politics. Not only in Trinidad and Tobago, but all over the world. And there are always sides. And Dr. Ned pick his side.
Nothing is wrong with that, caller.
To find out. What would be interesting to see is we know
the instructions, so that's what he did. So instead, Keaton, I will just tell you about the capybara in this city. It's either it was specifically dumped there by an idiot, for the purpose of roadkill, because that's become more frequent now, or because now is the time for registration for hunting licenses, because the season starts in October. And because their natural habitat is the wetlands. So when they're displaced, obviously they're going to look for new habitats, because it's an invasive species from South America. So of course it's due to illegal wildlife trafficking and human activity once more to create another problem which we should not have had. And this happens again and again and again. Thanks. Goodbye.
Thank you, caller.
Thank you, caller.
Listen, those animals, capybaras, the biggest rodents in the world, are herbivores, but they eat everything, and they're very, very destructive. So being an invasive species, their population has to remain under control.
Should hunting capybaras be given a bit more leeway than other wildlife? I think is the next question, because I know for lionfish, they have been trying to encourage divers to go after lionfish, but it's very difficult.
They're serving it in restaurants now, actually.
Yeah, but
you could get in restaurants.
The unfortunate thing is,
I think it's a Tobago too.
Yes, but it's a very impractical fish to fish for and to serve.
Very little meat on it.
I do still approve of the endeavor, right? And I think it's something that we should try to support, but unfortunately it's very impractical. Capybaras, on the other hand, they look a bit more practical as a food source. So I'm just saying, if hunters want to hunt, should we just let them hunt the capybara?
Sean has decided that he's going to make some sweet and sour capybara soup for us.
Me?
Anyway, let me not sit down here. Folks, please, don't go looking for capybara. Anyway, with that being said, caller from San Fernando, I hear you, I respect your opinion. But like I said, I'm not trying to be naive, but honestly...
Maybe idealistic.
And maybe sometimes on this program we are too idealistic. I just think that the chairman of the party, nothing is wrong with taking a side. You can take your side all you want. I just think that he should not have said what he said in relation to the fact, keep what's going on internally, try and resolve this situation. Don't come out and speak on behalf of anyone in this instance, and don't try and throw flames or arrows at another. Chairman of the party, you should try and resolve the situation, because it's your party.
Yeah,
it's your party.
There's bacchanal in the other political parties, but we haven't necessarily seen something like this out of that bacchanal. And again, I want to reiterate, and I'll say it because you don't seem to want to say it. What he said was somewhat stupid. He took a very obvious stance that betrayed a bias, but he's trying to act as though his manner of speech is trying to portray himself as a moral high ground with no bias.
And by the way,
if he wants to have a bias, fine, but he's trying to act like he doesn't.
And history across the world, caller, I hear you, history across the world shows you that this happens all the time. Why not change history? Because if my political leader, whoever that may be, is doing nonsense, and I know that they're doing nonsense, am I working for my political leader, or am I working for my country? And again, probably sounding idealistic here, but you have to change history at some point.
But again, this is unprecedented.
Well, you can't change history.
The chairman normally would not have to choose between the head of the executive and the political leader, but now he does. I don't know of any other chairman of a party that has had to do that. Even in the States, to some extent, the head of the party is the president. The head of the party in Britain is the prime minister. So as much as, yes, we could go about around the world, this situation is not necessarily like the rest of those situations. We can't compare it that directly.
You can't change.
It's what makes it interesting.
You can't change history, but you could learn from history and certainly change the future. You know, what is to come could be up to you. Not so. Quite frankly,
we'll have more on this tomorrow.
Yeah, I hear your opinion, I respect your opinion, but I don't necessarily agree with you. Anyway, folks, that's it. Thank you very much once more to Ms. Rhonda Hackett for joining us this morning on Talking Point, and thank you very much to all our callers for their contribution. Up next day on WESN, we have Strictly Legal at 10 o'clock, followed by Sight with Sule Joseph. Whew, boy, Arsenal supporter having his days, boy, on top of the world. And later on, of course, we have the Face of Sports with the fearless one, Andrew Erlberty. Sean Michael Small, thank you very much. Remember, today's a good day to have a good day, and not sweet and sour capybara soup. Again, please don't go looking for capybara. This has been Talking Point. If all goes well, hopefully we'll see you again tomorrow morning. Bye-bye.
WESN.